Hi everyone, this is Raina. So this video is for the moon in Scorpio. And as I was preparing to do these various videos, I was thinking ahead to when I was going to do moon in Scorpio. And it was very daunting because I think that the moon in Scorpio is a very powerful type of an influence. And I don't want to just make it seem like, oh, the person's very intense and don't cross them and things like that, because those are just cliches. I really want to get to the heart of the matter. So the moon is our emotional nature, and Scorpio is already right there because Scorpio is a water sign, and water signs live life through their emotions. Emotions are conditioned responses, and they are conditioned by what? They're conditioned by experiences in our lives. Two people can have the same life experience, let's say siblings, and they respond emotionally in different ways. Why is that? Well, we have individual souls. We have individual lifetimes of these memories and these emotions that we have stored within our soul's, hard drive. And the soul is the hard drive, in my opinion. So we have our own way of approaching a particular situation and reacting to it, okay? And for Scorpio, it's going to be sometimes with a poker face. A moon in Scorpio person who is offended by someone, who feels betrayed by someone, may not erupt in a blazing fury like a moon in Aries person might do. They're not going to show their cards. They're not going to show their hand that way. This is the secretive aspect of Scorpio. Scorpio in astrology rules the 8th house, and one of those key words is secretive or secrets. And so with the 8th house, we're talking about sex, death, and other people's money. Those are the ones that everyone always talks about. But we're also talking about what lies beneath the surface of life. Someone with the moon in Scorpio is a natural psychologist. They can sense that another person is perhaps only telling a little bit of the story. I'm sure that most Scorpio people think to themselves, there's more than meets the eye when they are dealing with others. But this is also true for them. There's more than meets the eye. Still waters run deep. And I think especially if you're a male with moon in Scorpio, you can have difficulty, actually a challenge with expressing yourself emotionally. Women are more conditioned by society to, there's not that same stigma of expressing themselves emotionally. And so even a moon in Scorpio female may be more forthcoming about how they're feeling than a male. And if you are a woman, well, I don't know if gender is really important, but I'm just going to put it that way since I'm a woman. If you're a woman who is dealing with a man with the moon in Scorpio, you may feel frustrated that he is not emotionally available. And he really is emotionally available. It's just that he's not emotionally transparent. And that there is a difference between the two. So don't automatically assume that this man has no feelings or that he will not be compassionate towards you. It's simply that he doesn't feel comfortable being open with his emotions. And this is because Scorpio, it's ruled by two planets, one being Mars, and that's also the ruler of Aries, but the other one is Pluto, and that's where all of this underworld stuff comes into play, because Pluto is all about transformation, but it's also about power. And that's actually one of the byproducts of transformation, is that you step into your power. But unfortunately, sometimes things get short-circuited, and a moon in Scorpio, or even a sun in Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio, Mars in Scorpio person can just want to cut to the chase and have the power and not have to do the work that comes along with the transformation. So there's where you get that, and where they want to feel a sense of power. A Scorpio despises weakness, and with the moon in Scorpio, that may be another reason why they do not like to appear vulnerable at any time, is because of that desire to appear strong at all times. However, and I think this is actually coming from the Mars influence. The Mars is the warrior energy, and a warrior doesn't show that they're frightened. A warrior always puts on a brave front, and that's what a moon and Scorpio person does. But there's also, I think with Pluto, there's always the underbelly of life. And that's what, the what would you call it? The teeming, pathogens beneath the surface of some kind of a food item that looks really delicious. But if you saw it under a microscope, it would be really nasty. And so somebody with a prominent Scorpio, but I think especially with the moon in Scorpio, believes that about everyone, that everyone has a private self that is, that everybody has a facade, and really beneath it all, they've got all these juicy secrets. Well, that may be true for a fair percentage of the population. But moon in Scorpio can take it to a whole new level, where there's almost this overly suspicious nature that everyone has something to hide, and this can easily migrate into a tendency to be very jealous of their partner, but less possessive like a typical Taurus individual, and more like a person who doubts that their partner is being faithful, who doubts that their partner loves them. And Scorpio, as both influenced by Pluto and the game playing, with the ultimate desire to maintain control, coupled with being a water sign and naturally being manipulative, there can be a tendency to play games as a substitute for real intimacy, which is what the 8th house is also all about, is not just sexual intimacy, but emotional intimacy, bearing your soul to another person, not just bearing your flesh, but bearing your soul, and allowing your partner to see those parts of yourself that are undesirable, and having your partner accept them and not reject you for not being just 100% perfect in the way that you act. There's something so cathartic about that kind of acceptance, radical acceptance from another person, that allows you, because it's being mirrored back to you, to appreciate within yourself. Nobody can make you love all parts of yourself, Scorpio, but that's where another person coming in, they can help with this. They can assist with this, because they can say, you're still lovable. I know that this, that, and the other thing is going on for you, but I still can see the God qualities within you, and I love you for them. And the tragedy is that I think too few Scorpios, moon and Scorpios, and I probably shouldn't make this statement without knowing that many moon and Scorpio individuals. I do know at least 2 offhand, but that's not enough for me to make this kind of a blanket statement. So I'm also thinking of it in terms of Sun in Scorpio, because of the fact that Scorpio is a water sign. That emotional influence, I think, can really be valid for the Sun in Scorpio individual too. And I think that what happens too often is that the Scorpio person holds back, and they are very distrustful of others, including a love partner, and they only give so much of who they really are, and then the other person can't really get to know them. And so it becomes a vicious circle where the relationship never really gets to that deepest level. And then meantime, Scorpio may start playing the games. You don't love me enough, but they never gave their true self to that person, their whole self. They just gave like little bits and pieces. And that is why the other person may not feel that deep sense of connection, because they know something is missing. They know that the Scorpio person has something to hide, and that will spell doom for the relationship. So it's very important for Scorpio moon to get in touch with their shadow and embrace their shadow, and not try to run away from it, or not immerse themselves in it and become like this villain either. Because one shadow aspect of Moon in Scorpio is revenge and feeling a vengeful spirit. And I've actually had comments, and I remember one. I can't remember it verbatim, but sometimes will be with Sun in Scorpio, where the person will say, if I've done a love reading, somebody will say, a Scorpio will say, I don't care, I hate them, they destroyed my life, and they need to have, they need to suffer for what they've done for me, or something very vengeful. And lacking forgiveness. I think usually it's triggered by if I say you have to forgive, because this is one of the things with the sign of Scorpio being a fixed water sign, is that it is very challenging for a fixed water sign to forgive, because the emotions become crystallized in whatever the outrage was. You know what I mean? And this can work both ways. If a Scorpio person is in love with somebody and they turn out to be a real heel, a real dog, or a real, just somebody who really dogs them out, they may still carry a torch for that person simply because they feel, because they become fixated on whatever point it was when they first met the person. Now, if the person, I should qualify that. I think it would be more if the person, it can't be in the relationship because they're messed up in some way. Not necessarily, if they do something to the Scorpio person, I don't think that they're going to be that okay with it. But, it's possible. It's possible that some Moon and Scorpio people overlook betrayal as long as the person comes back. But I don't know if anyone's heard that saying, he or she doesn't get mad, they get even. You see, that's what I'm talking about with this overtly emotional nature versus a poker face. If somebody says to themselves, that's okay, they'll get theirs eventually, and they're just waiting for the perfect opportunity to get them back for something that they've done, they may even feign affection for somebody that they have lost all respect for, simply to keep them in their web until it's time to drop the hammer on them. And what I would say to anyone out there who feels this way, and they, some Moon and Scorpio people may just have revenge fantasies, but they may not really do anything to act it out. But who knows? There might be some out there who construct very detailed ways that they can get back at somebody who they feel did them wrong. The problem with that is that you're just repeating the behavior that another person did. And what makes it even more egregious is that you're consciously trying to hurt someone. Sometimes people do things that are hurtful, but I think most of the time they're not attempting to hurt the other person. Cheating is an example. A person may have a weak will, they may be insecure, and they cheat in order to feel like they're desirable. Whatever the reason, they might have felt lonely. Their defenses were down, and they had it was like a crime of opportunity, so to speak. Now, or I shouldn't call it a crime, but I just call it a mistake, an opportunity to make a mistake. And that in those types of situations, the person isn't doing it for revenge. Now, there are times where people sleep with another person for revenge. But in these situations, somebody's trying to get their needs met. And so if the other party that they've cheated on decides to, come up with some elaborate scheme to get them back, to give them a taste of their own medicine and to hurt them, to me, that calculation is much more a sign of something that is a bad thing than the actual cheating. And I know there are going to be people out there who disagree with me, but it's the calculated aspect of it. People are clumsy sometimes. They say the wrong things. Even if they are speaking the truth, they say it in a way that is offensive to others. They do things that let other people down. But if we are really perceptive, we can separate those people who are doing things from a vicious intention from those who are simply kind of, making a bunch of mistakes in life, and this just happens to be another one of them. And so for the higher-minded Moon and Scorpios, they get this, and they can be I think that there can be Moon and Scorpio individuals who are very saintly in this respect because they understand human nature enough to know what is just part of average human frailty versus someone who is out to get them. But I think that they may not, if they know somebody has cheated on them, it can be a very hard thing, even for the highest-minded Scorpio person, because to them, that would be a very big violation. And this is kind of like when a Moon and Scorpio person is overly suspicious and is accusatory, it is because of a fear of abandonment, due to cheating or what have you. And this may be if they had death at an early age. Scorpio rules death through Pluto. And they may have been traumatized in some way. And that has left them with abandonment issues. And that's where the trust issues can come in for some people. So their emotions are very oftentimes complicated and very deeply entrenched within them. And that there's where the intensity comes into play. On the positive side, they can be fiercely loyal and protective of those that they love, those who they love. And what I really like about Scorpio in general, whether it's the sun or moon, is that they have I think they're very confident people. Now, I'm talking about some things that we might associate with insecurity. And so, yes, there may be some parts to all of us where we feel vulnerable and therefore insecure. But with Scorpio, I feel this sense of knowing themselves and that being very like rock solid. And so they're not like a Moon in Libra person, wavering here and there. They tend to be very almost extreme in their likes and dislikes, and black and white. And there is a danger of rigidity with Moon in Scorpio because of Scorpio being a fixed sign. But you tend to know where they stand. They don't mince words, and they don't care about your precious feelings, ironically, even though they're a water sign. There can almost be, and I should have said this about Moon in Capricorn, because Capricorn ruled by Saturn, and this Pluto and Mars influence with Scorpio. Pull up your big girl panties and deal with it. Don't whine to me. They don't like that. They don't respect people who they perceive as weak, who are making excuses for why they can't do this, why they can't do that. They despise victims, the victim mentality. So don't expect a Moon in Scorpio person to be just across the board sympathetic about everything that comes down the pike, like a Moon in Pisces person would be. They won't do that, and they will tell you to grow a pair. Even if you're a woman, grow some more ovaries. But that's because they really believe, maybe they believe that life is a battle that we have to fight, with that warrior energy in the background influencing them. But I would say that if you are somebody with the Moon in Scorpio, you really make an impression on other people. There's no two ways about it. And some people may shy away from that intensity, and some people may embrace it, but it allows you to love very deeply. And that is more than can be said about some of these moon signs. So when we're talking about the moon, we're talking about our emotional natures, and being able to experience such strong feelings is part of what makes us feel alive. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this. And if you'd like a private reading, please click on the link below. Otherwise, take care. Bye.